I know everybody keeps talking about the winners and losers of this draft, and I was one of the guys that picked my 5 winners and my 3 losers. So I'm going to ask you, in this year's draft, 2020, the first virtual draft the NFL has ever produced, who was your 5 winners and who are your 3 losers in this year's draft?
Okay, so I would say winners go Vikings. I would say, look, I'm going to say the Bills. I'm going to say Vikings, Bills. I know they didn't have a ton of picks, but I thought the Arizona Cardinals, they really did a nice job as well. I thought the Saints did a really good job. It sounds weird, like it's strange to me to pick ones that, like, obviously the Vikings had 15 picks, which was the most since we've gone to a 7-round system since 1994.
Mm-hmm.
But other than them, it was about making smart picks. And so for me, Saints and then Ravens.
But are you a hidden Bills fan? Because are you a hidden Bills fan? Because I'm starting to think that you're a hidden Bills fan.
I definitely, if you were to ask Bills Mafia, last year they were so mad at me all the time. So no, I am not a hidden Bills fan. I'm just look, when you pick a Jake Fromm in the 5th round and you have a Josh Allen, and that's an interesting, like, backup quarterbacks either need to come a 1 or 2 variety. Either they need to play in the same style as the quarterback so the offense doesn't have to learn a ton, or they have to be in a different style of the starting quarterback. So in the case that they have to go in, the defense that they're playing is screwed up because they have been touching for the wrong player. I think that Jake Fromm is a great secret weapon as a backup that could turn into a very viable starter, depending on everything that happens. I love his accuracy. I think he's a very interesting. I like Jake Fromm more than most. He's accurate. He improved his accuracy and at the same time kept his ability to not turn the ball over really high as well. And that's something that projects for success to me. So I like their pick. So I'm strictly going on draft. I'm not going by heart. I'm a Lions fan. So life is hard. Life is hard.
Well, I'm a Jet fan, so life is even more hard.
Well, at least the Jets have more than one playoff win.
Yeah. Let me talk about no. Jets, no, you're not even allowed to start complaining as a Jets fan. Just try to Google anything, Lions playoff, see what happens.
I'm very aware.
They have one playoff
I'm very aware.
in the entire Super Bowl era. So, yeah.
Just making sure we knew. Got it.
All right. Cynthia, moving on from teams to the actual players, are there any picks that maybe popular consensus and a lot of fans liked that your data models or your analytics showed that wasn't a good pick or was a reach in the first round?
I think for the most part, my model agrees that Jordan Love, I don't think most people like the Jordan Love pick in the first round, and my model agrees with that. I think some of the Raiders picks were a little suspect from a standpoint of, the corner that they picked was not highly rated for me, nowhere near the first round. I also don't think other people liked him, as well as Mike Mayock and John Gruden do. I think it's interesting. Honestly, on a different team, Javon Kinlaw would have been too high where the Niners took him. However, when you look at the sum of the parts in that one, Javon Kinlaw is a better pick than it at first blush. And then they obviously got some equity for that by trading down a position. But, the interesting part about all of it is that fit matters so much. So Javon Kinlaw on the Niners in that front is a great pick. Javon Kinlaw at the Falcons, who are rumored to want him, not as great of a pick because they have a lot of needs along that defensive front. So it's an interesting. It was a good fit. It was maybe a bit high in terms of true number pick, but it's all about will somebody else take him.
Cynthia, what is it that everybody hates about Jordan Love? I thought he was a sensational quarterback. I watched him at the Combine. He really impressed me at the Combine. And I really thought that he was a first-round pick. I really did. A lot of people didn't, but I thought he was. And he fell kind of in the same spot as Aaron Rodgers did when he got drafted. I think they moved up
24, I think.
24.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's not about Jordan Love. It's more about where they traded up to get him. So if you think he's not going to be there, that spurs you to trade, right?
Yep.
I don't think most other teams thought we're going to take Jordan Love in that spot. I think they got cute. So it's not as much about Jordan Love as it is the trade up, who else was available, and team needs at that point that makes it seem, because my sense is that, I kind of feel bad for Jordan Love because I feel like everybody's like in sports media, there's much less to talk about right now. So we talk about Jordan Love a lot. And it's really less about him as much as it is the kind of disrespect shown to Aaron Rodgers. And then they like doubled down and got a running back with the next. Like they had it confusing, maybe not so great draft, or the strategy was not something that we as outsiders can understand. But I don't think it's about Jordan Love specifically. It's the situation. Plus, like, the irony of doing it to Aaron Rodgers, who, like, that happened with Favre, so sick, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just a lot of stories, but brings a lot of stories to mind, and it really distracts from the fact that, being honest, like, Jordan Love is a great prospect, but he's not, widely regarded by the quarterback people who I trust most. And by the way, there are a billion people who claim to be good at quarterbacks, but you have to pick who you believe. And, I look for track record. And the people who I have the most faith in, they are saying that he has like upside, but he's a developmental prospect. And, the game right now is not like he couldn't take over and win right now.
But
that's what I.
But this happens every single year, Cynthia. We've seen a quarterback get drafted either in the first or second round that people are complaining that they don't belong in the first or second round, like Daniel Jones last year. Giant fans were booing him, screaming for his head before he even touched the stage. They wanted to kill the guy. They were throwing apples at him. And now all of a sudden you saw what he did this year. He had 25 or 26 touchdowns. He only threw 13 interceptions. Yes, he fumbles the ball a lot, but that could be cleaned up. He proved that I think he had 3 400-yard games, which is he's only the third quarterback to ever do that. I mean, Giant fans wanted to kill this guy, and look what he became.
I still think that if you rewind back to last season, Daniel Jones was not in the, like, Daniel Jones was like in more of like the Tua, Justin Herbert. Like, he actually is a lot like Justin Herbert in terms of what people thought of it, right? Like, less experience that Justin Herbert had in college, but like a top tier, but not like, I don't think Jordan Love, if you had to tear it out from like what popular consensus was, which who knows what that means, right? But I think Daniel Jones was in that top tier. People thought he was, of that same ilk. They just didn't know if it should be to the Giants when they had 2 picks and he could have been around for 17 and blah, 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 right? So he was right up there with Dwayne Haskins as one of the ones that, is it Dwayne Haskins? Is Daniel Jones? Like, there's like a few people every year who kind of get that like top 3 billing, right?
Right.
And he was in it. Whereas I don't think Jordan Love this year was really in that, right? It was Joe Burrow, number 1, no questions asked. Then would it be Tua and then Justin, or Justin and then Tua, Justin, Joe, you know what I mean? Like, that was kind of what was going on there.
Last question from me. Are there any day 3 picks, 4th round or 7th round on, that stood out to you in your data and your analytics that you think could have a productive career and maybe a Rookie of the Year candidate this season?
Ooh, Rookie of the Year is going to be a hard one because oftentimes Rookie of the Year is very often it's quarterback. It's going to be really hard for it to not be a quarterback, and then if not a quarterback, then it's a skill position like a running back or a wide receiver. And with this wide receiver class, it's going to be hard for it to be someone who fell out of the first 3 rounds, in my opinion. But I'm going to actually slowly, make your question a different one a little bit and say who am I sort of like looking at to be, where am I looking for some value? And I guess I want to point out like the entire Minnesota draft class, because I think that like they took some risks. Obviously, they had 2 picks in the first round, and they're, they were. The Vikings are an interesting one, right? They obviously got those picks from the Bills because we got to bring you back to the Bills somehow. But if you look at their linebacker position, right? The linebacker position, I told you, like, it's one of those positions that kind of goes in some interesting, different ways, right? So I don't know. So if you look to see from Oregon, they've got this linebacker, and his name is Troy Dye. They got him in the 4th round, and he's super fast. And Mike Zimmer, with developing linebackers and developing defensive players in general, is like really good at it, right? So you put that with like Cameron Dancer, their corner they got, and they got Jeff Gladney, the other corner, and then you just got all these like interesting pieces. And then, by the way, you picked up in the 7th round, you picked up Kenny. I think it's I know how to spell it. It's like Willikes. Anyways, and you picked up him, and so you've got all these pieces who could really be like a Mike Zimmer special, right? So it's interesting to me to see how they will pan out, because there's a whole bunch of interesting potential upside side, and that's always a good spot to be in.
Last question for me, and it's a quick question. What do you think about Andy Dalton going to the Dallas Cowboys, and do you think this is the end for Dak Prescott with the franchise tag put on him, and he wants $40 million? Do you think it's done in Dallas for Dak?
No, it is not done in Dallas for Dak. Dak, it's fine. I think Andy Dalton is a really good backup, and I honestly I think that was a really smart move, and I think Andy Dalton is the kind of guy who, like, look, Dak Prescott is a physical. If he gets hurt, do you really want anyone up? Like, and Andy Dalton is a perfect complement to a Dak Prescott, and Dak will get his money. He will. Look, I don't have any special insight here. I don't have any. This is purely my speculation based on covering this league for a while. I don't think they're going to let Dak out of the Dallas Cowboys organization. I don't know if that means playing with the tag this year or not. I'd have to really dig into their cap situation to figure it out, because Dallas always does things where they like go back and renegotiate, because look, they sound like, Amari Cooper, they've got Zeke's getting paid everything this year. They've got all these people getting paid all this money, and then you're like, well, how do they do it? And it's basically because their strategy is about how to figure out their dead money, and like there's a lot that goes into it. So I think ultimately, when it comes to Dak, they're like, we'll figure it out, and they will. I think they will.
Cynthia, you've upsetted me today. You really have. You're a hidden Bills fan. I'm telling you, you are. You are a hidden Bills fan.
No, I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not. Trust me. Those Bills fans will tell you that I picked against them. They were mad about it last year. They were in their feelings a lot about it.
And Cynthia, you should be following us on Twitter. You have not followed us on Twitter. I'm very upset with you. I am very upset with you. WWSRN_radio. We want to get you back on whenever if the season actually starts, and I believe there will be a season. We would love to get you back on.
Absolutely. We'll get back on for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Cynthia, for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.